batch, Leah?
I made it ahead of time and I will read the instructions and then show
Okay.
you the finished product.
Okay.
So the cake, 3/4 cups flour,
Mm-hmm.
1/4 teaspoon salt, 1/2 teaspoon baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon cinnamon, a teaspoon of ground clove, 3 large eggs. And what I like to do with the eggs is crack them into a cup and then beat them with a fork and then add them in because it just
Mm-hmm.
makes them a little bit easier. 1 cup sugar, two, hang on, 2/3 cup pumpkin, like pumpkin puree. And you're gonna have some leftover pumpkin, and then I'll tell you what to do with the leftover pumpkin in a little bit. 1 cup crushed pecans or preferred nuts. I usually do the pecans, and that's the cake. And then the filling is 8 ounces cream cheese, room temp, 1 cup powdered sugar, 6 tablespoons butter, 1 teaspoon vanilla, and then the extra stuff is parchment paper, baking pan. I use 2 boiler pans, like the bottom halves of boiler pans. Foil or plastic wrap is optional, and then powdered sugar is optional. So the directions is preheat oven 375 degrees. Line the boiler pan with parchment paper, and I'm gonna go grab them real quick to show you why I use 2 boiler pans. So I have 2 boiler pans here, and I have parchment paper on the top, and then I have the sides folded down and tucked under the top pan, and I use the bottom pan to hold the parchment paper in place. And then I pour, whenever I mix all the cake stuff together, and I pour the cake batter on top, and the parchment paper won't move or shift or cause the batter to spill because it's held in place by the bottom pan. And
That
then
is such a good idea.
Yes.
How many times have I had that parchment paper moving around? Oh, so
mhm.
annoying.
and
Keep
then
going. Yeah.
so I mix all the cake ingredients together in a bowl, pour it onto that parchment paper, and then I like to add the pecans into the batter
Mhm.
and bake it in, or you can sprinkle it on top and let it bake in. The pecans are kind of what you want. You can either put it in the filling or put it in the cake. I like to do both, but I add the pecans into the cake mixture and put it all together. Pour the cake batter onto the parchment paper, spread it over evenly, make sure it's all nice and even and not piled like too much in one area. Sprinkle nuts on top or have it mixed in, whichever one you ended up doing. Bake in the oven for about 15 minutes. I did 15 minutes and then checked it and it looked like it needed another 5 minutes. So I put it back in for 5 minutes. That happened this time. That hasn't happened to me before, but it did this last time. So I just wanted to say that that's okay if it needs an extra 5 minutes, just 15 minutes and then check it and 5 minutes more if need be.
So,
Remove.
so Leah, let me ask a question here. So what kind of texture are you looking for? Kind of a firm, like it's done, or
Like you want the cake to be done not gooey and not hard,
okay.
just like a regular
Mm-hmm.
soft cake,
Mm-hmm.
cooked all the way. And whenever I first pulled it out, there was like a big gooey patch on the
Yep.
corner. So I'm wondering, if maybe it was like something to do with the oven. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
blaming something other than me. It wasn't my fault. It was the oven's fault.
And it's thin, right? That's why it doesn't take so long because
Mhm.
it's a thin, thin cake. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Can
It only
can
takes
you
like
test
15,
it with
20
a
minutes.
toothpick like you do a regular cake?
You can if you want to, but I just touch it because it's so thin. It's like
Mm-hmm.
not even half an inch thick. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
thin cake.
Okay.
I've
So
been talking with people about that is that you've got to pull your cake all the way out of the oven so you're safe. But then just taking your finger and just tapping the top, you got to make
mhm,
sure you're really on the cake, not near the pan. but
Right.
it really does. It is a great way to test doneness.
Mm-hmm. And I don't have toothpicks, so if I need to poke a cake, I usually just use like a butter knife. It works the
Mm-hmm.
same.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you remove the cake from the oven, you want to use some, I use like the little square pot holders. One out. And I use a couple of them and I grab the parchment paper on the short end. I'm gonna go grab the boiler pan real quick to show you. So I grab short end, the short end, and I roll it up. I'm gonna put the pan down.
Are you supposed to wait a little while for it to cool down at all?
No, you want to do it
Oh,
right away, right away. As soon as you pull it out of the oven, you want to roll it up and then put the cake with the seam part down so it doesn't unroll. And you want to do it while it's hot because what happens is that when it is hot and you first pull it out of the oven, it is flexible
mm,
and you can mold it into that round shape that you're going to want to make it into a pumpkin roll.
mm-hmm,
And then you let
Okay.
it cool down. And once it cools down, you can usually I cool it down like on the counter,
mm-hmm,
or I don't put it in the fridge because you don't want it to sweat. And it'll make the cake moist. So you can put it on like a cooling rack or just
mm-hmm,
whatever. I usually just leave it on the pan, seam side down, and just leave it like on the stove or counter somewhere. Um, and once it cools down, however long that takes, an hour or two, and then you unroll it. And when you unroll it, the cake might break apart a little, which is fine. But while it's cooling down, you want to do the filling.
mm-hmm.
Hang on. The filling is the cream cheese, the powdered sugar. Let me go up to where the 1 teaspoon vanilla, 6 tablespoons butter, 1 cup powdered sugar, 8 ounces cream cheese. So I put all that in a bowl and I use an electric mixer to mix it. That way it mixes it way better than by hand because the cream cheese is
Mm-hmm.
very thick. And then I take that mixture and I spread it over the cake whenever it's unrolled, and I spread it all over the cake evenly. And if you really want more pecans, you can sprinkle more pecans in on top of the filling. And then I take the cake and I roll it up without the parchment paper and
Mm-hmm.
roll it up. And like I said, if the cake kind of breaks up, that's okay because the filling, the cream cheese and powdered sugar filling that you just made and put on will glue it all back together. And then I take that parchment paper that it was baked on, and I use that to kind of wrap it up at the end. Like after you roll the cake up into the tube that it becomes, or the cylinder shape that it becomes, the roll, then I just take the parchment paper and wrap it around the cake to help keep it like wrapped up. And then I stick it in the fridge, and you want to store it in the fridge because of the cream cheese. Let's see. Let me go back down. And you could keep it in the fridge up to a few days.
I'm
Um,
still waiting for what you do with the extra pumpkin puree.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
I'm also
I'm
a little
getting
bit
there.
foggy about rolling this thing up. When you very first take it out of the oven, you roll it up without anything in it just to get it in the right shape. Is that right?
You
And
want
then
to
you
roll
have
it
to
up.
unroll
You
it.
can roll it up with the parchment paper still on there.
Okay,
And
right.
right, and just roll it up and then just let it cool down. And then you unroll it and put the filling in and roll the cake up without the parchment paper.
Okay, you got to roll it a second time, and that's
Yes,
when it might break up a little on you, but that doesn't matter because the stuff in the middle will stick it together like glue.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay. Okay. All
Are
right.
you guys ready? Let me show you the cake and I'll tell you about the leftover pumpkin puree. So here is the finished product. What's left of it because my neighbor came over earlier today and took a slice. She says it's
Awesome.
delicious.
I'm thinking you could probably slice that up, couldn't you?
Yes.
Little
you can slice
slices
it up.
of it?
And it, yeah, you can do, let me get I can slice. Can you see that? Is this a
Well,
good?
I can't, but I'm sure our sighted audience can.
Yes,
And it
Leah, I
says-
can see it. We can see it.
And it has pecan and cream cheese and all that stuff. I'm tempted. You guys want to take a bite?
Oh, I'd love
I
to
want to
try
buy.
That sounds good.
It's very good.